My name is Fehmi. I'm one of the OGs in crypto, actually. I started buying Bitcoin when it was $13. Spent too many of them when I was stupid. Now I'm trying to come back. But my passion is not really holding coins. It's to build something. And what I'm building is in the GameFi world. Today I'll try to explain how to get from the Web 2 gaming to the Web 3 gaming. I don't want to get too technical because it's not the purpose of this presentation. So I'm going to go with where we went from, like in the original games, to today building Web 3 games with Web 3 economies. If the clicker collaborates, obviously. This way. All right. So in the early days, the younger guys might not recognize this, but the older ones, we spent thousands of hours playing GTA 1, then GTA 2, then all the series of GTAs. It was easy because all the funds were done upfront. You get financed, you publish a game, you get paid for people who bought it, not paid for the people who hacked it, and then it's done. Then came a new wave of games where monetization became super important. So as a game developer, not only you had to develop a fun game, but you also had to find ways to keep generating money through the game. Not just with ads, obviously, but with many different mechanisms. So we had the different mobile games. We had even totally free games that generated millions and billions for their creators. Some of you are very familiar with these. And the paradigm changed for multiple years where the game developers had to adopt these strategies. But at one point, the Web 3 games came up, and everybody had to kind of level up and start really building from the ground up because it's a completely different way of building video games. A lot of people think that the Web 3 games are about like virtual reality and really having like these kinds of technologies, but it's really not. It started mainly with Axie Infinity. Axie really opened the door for many other games that followed in the next few months, and we're still in the first stages of the Web 3 gaming. What changes? Not much. The most important thing in gaming is entertainment, is having fun. Some of the web developers, some of the game developers forgot about this. They rushed to launch new games very fast because they saw the benefit of creating a token, having people buy the token, and selling NFTs and making their money and almost pulling a rug and saying, ciao, bye. But it doesn't work anymore. People became smarter than that. People saw what happened with Axie Infinity. Axie, by the way, was a great game. The challenge, what happened is Axie was a lot used by people who used it as a job. So they were not playing a game, they were working every day to generate money. And what happened is those people who are using the game as a job, they needed to pay for their rent. So they always took the money out of the game ecosystem and exited, which tanked the value of the token, and the whole ecosystem almost collapsed. The website is still there, the game is still there, everything is still there, but they lost a lot of daily active users, they lost a lot in the value of their NFTs. I do hold a lot of the Axies, but they're not worth much today. I'm hoping that the game will come back from its fall. As I mentioned, one of the issues was that, and it's called the tokenomics sustainability. We'll come back to it a little bit later. To get from Web 2 to Web 3, web developer studios and game developing studios are merged together because it's not just about the game today. Usually the game comes with a web application or a dApp. And we need to take baby steps. By the way, that's not my baby, otherwise my wife would kill me. The baby steps are very simple. First thing is Web 3 gaming is about the ownership of the assets, so we need to enable the trading of all elements in a game. It's not just the characters, as you see here, it's characters and in-game assets. A lot of the games focus on the characters first, but the in-game assets are as important. So if you find a nice sword, or if you win a tournament and it gives you a badge or something, you own that, and you can probably, if you want to, put it on a marketplace and sell it. The other thing is about uniqueness. If we had an infinite amount of NFTs, same as any other resource, it wouldn't be worth anything. But if NFTs are unique, they actually increase in value. So the web developers and the game developers have to join efforts together to make sure that when they are creating NFT collections, the concept of rarity is respected, because otherwise the value of each NFT is going to be diluted. So usually what they do is they have different layers of NFTs or different types of NFTs. Some of them are more common and more available to increase the number of people who play the game, but some others should be more rare to have people who want to really invest their time and money and efforts in the game. So those NFTs would be like the legendary ones or the epic ones. And you need to, when you're developing a game, to think like that. You need to have different layers of NFTs. Some are more rare than the others. And the other thing that is completely new is the time is money. I mentioned earlier that we spent thousands of hours playing video games for free. And a lot of people still do. But with the Web3 gaming, your time is your money in a certain way. That was real with Axie Infinity, but it's going to be even more real in the future Web3 games, because when you play, you will actually upgrade your character, for example, and your character is going to be worth more on a marketplace if it's super advanced compared to other characters. So that's why time is money, and the engagement of people is going to be compensated, and not just with coins, as I said, it could be with assets. The challenges. As I mentioned earlier, Web 2 was straightforward, pretty easy. Well, technically a little bit complicated. You needed a very solid game, you need to create a fun game, and publish it, and you were done. With Web 3, you have to take care of multiple other things. First thing, you have to understand what's the blockchain, what are the blockchains, what's a wallet, what are NFTs, how to build sustainable tokenomics, as I mentioned, so that they don't tank, how to figure out cross-chain and bridges, how to figure out security. A lot of people know here that Axie Infinity got hacked for $650 million. They still survived, I don't know how. But it's a pretty big hack, and it's a pretty big deal for future game developers. All of this has to be learned, but the most important thing is the player's education. So you can know about everything crypto and blockchains and wallets and cross-chain and all of that, but if it's too complicated for the future players, they will not play. So you also have to educate the players and also have to make it super easy for them to embark on the Web3 games. So a lot of people say that they don't want to use a wallet to get identified. We need to have to find different ways of presenting wallets to them, but we need to use the wallet. So wallet is not a problem. A wallet is a tool to enable people to really own the assets from the game they played. I said I'm not going to get too technical, but we kind of have to a little bit, just for the crowd of people who are into the sector. When you're building Web3 games, you have to take care of multiple things. The first one is obviously the tokens and the smart contracts that come with them. So you have to have a token or to use a token that exists. So that's the number one step. That's where you can at least have a simple economy if it's the only thing you do. The tokens in game have to be pushed from the game to a blockchain. And that happens through usually SDKs that do exist today. The main one is ChainSafe. There's also Morales that does a great job there. And there are others, but I'm really mentioning just the top ones that are being used by most studios. In terms of user management, you need to connect to a wallet. If people are playing a mobile game, it's not possible to use MetaMask, for example. So there are different types of wallets. There's hot wallets and cold wallets, and there are also APIs to push the information back and forth. So people maybe use the MetaMask wallet online on the dApp, and they identify themselves in a different way on the game, and there are bridges between the dApp and the game. That's what we call universal IDs. You have to build sustainable tokenomics. I can give examples of like maybe collecting fees from tournaments to reinject for the play-to-earn players. That's one way of creating a circular economy instead of constantly minting new tokens and giving them away to people that will sell them out and reduce the value of every token in the end. You have to take care of NFT minting and trading, obviously, because that's core into the Web3 games. Again, ChainSafe has a very good tool set and a lot of SDKs there. Moralis has also a very good approach for both Unity and Unreal Engine. Stratus, NFT Port are smaller, a little bit more dedicated to NFT only. I recommend staying with ChainSafe and Moralis again. And then once you have a token, you have to list it on DEXs and centralized exchanges as well. You have to provide liquidity. You have to take care of the market making. You have to take care of the anti-snipe bots, because in the beginning you can get sniped very fast. And you have to figure out the security somehow, especially if you want your game to be cross-chain or to use bridges. You need to make sure that the funds are not going to disappear at one point. Who knows here the difference between play to earn and play and earn? It was a discussion that came out once the Axie Infinity ecosystem collapsed. What happened there is that a lot of people were playing, as I said, considering it as a job. And when every time Axie announced something, we had thousands of people asking, what are you going to do about SLP? What's going on with SLP? What's going on with SLP is the native token there. But the team could not really control the economy of a token when millions of players are actually exchanging it and playing with it. It's like a decentralized way. So instead of focusing on play to earn, which makes a game a job, the new concept and the new game developers are focusing on play and earn. So the main focus is really on the entertainment, on the value of the game, on the fun coming from the game. And if you can earn while doing so, you might as well. But the goal is not to come here to have a job, to grind every day to the maximum level, because that's what would kill the game and make it a job and not a game. So fun and entertainment is core to building new games. It's really not the tokenomics, not the technology stack. It's really building the most funny games and the most addictive games that will help you succeed. NFX actually did a pretty solid presentation explaining the difference between Web 2 and Web 3, where Web 2 was focusing on playability, retention, engagement, in-game currencies, and in-game virtual goods, where everything was centralized. Web 3 came with a new approach with the play-to-earn and the tradable tokens as a game currency, so that whatever you earn in the game could be traded on a blockchain and becomes real money. NFTs to represent the goods, and focus on earning money. That was the flaw in the first phases of Web3 games. And the sweet spot is really the intersection between the two different spheres. So the intersection is going to be games who are focused on fun and retention and engagement, while the currencies are tokenized instead of centralized in the Web2 world. The assets could be converted to NFTs, and the earning is optional, not mandatory, which means that you can still play the game without touching any crypto, without having a wallet. You should still be able to create an account, have fun, even be super competitive and go to the level of esports if you want to, without touching any crypto. So that's the best of both worlds. That should be the future of Web3 gaming. And I represent, obviously, a company. That's why I'm talking to you there. So at Arena Games, we're building the SDKs and the tools to help Web2 studios launch Web3 games through all the tools that I mentioned earlier. So the SDKs for the tokens, for the NFTs, the NFT marketplace. We even help on the tokenomics side. And we only focus on mobile PvP games. So if you guys have or are building any game, we should talk soon. And thank you very much for listening. So it's time for questions around. Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is I understand that Web3 game like Axie or Stepan became like a job, and then most of the players got incentivized by the real money instead of fun of playing game. But still, like in a crypto market, if you launch a Web3 game that has a reward as a tokenized asset or NFTs, if the crypto market, general crypto market became like a bull market, those prices tend to become higher because everyone starts to buy without thinking. And then if those, NFTs or rewards price goes higher, players tend to be more incentivized to play game as a job. How do you deal with this, external factors, which is the general crypto market price movement?
Very good question, by the way. So if the market becomes super high and the value of every token you earn becomes high, then a lot of people will be incentivized of like making their job playing that game, which is right. How do you make sure that doesn't tank the value of the token in the end is with solid tokenomics. I gave an example for you. Like what we do at Arena Games is we use the fees from tournaments and PvP games to put into a rewards pool, and the rewards pool is going to be divided for the play-to-earn players. So we're not minting new tokens to give them to people to like actually exit the ecosystem. We're recycling the tokens from the tournaments and PvP to allow people to do their job if they want to make it a job. The other thing is you need to make sure that in your tokenomics that the daily rewards represent a very small percentage of the overall tokens that are available, because otherwise it's going to affect the price. So that's how you need to probably balance between having people who are playing to compete and people who are here because there's an opportunity, because in certain countries earning $5 a day is more than enough, and they leave their job and they play the game and they do it seriously, and some guilds push for results, and there's an economy there. We cannot neglect it. We just need to make sure that it doesn't eat up the whole ecosystem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Another question here.
Okay, my question is kind of more technical. So as NFT's popularity is rising constantly, so it has also some kind of investment, it makes some kind of investment opportunities. So do you have like what approach or what SDK or what API you are using to track, or if you don't use it, it will be clear, to track historical prices of NFTs?
Good question. I personally do it, but on a personal side. But on the gaming side, we don't necessarily care, because the NFTs that are used for games, they have a specific utility. You cannot play the game without the NFT in the end, and each NFT has a value depending on the value it brings to the game. There are tools who give you historical data, but the market shifts from like highs and downs so much that you can't really rely on the historical data. If I tell you that I'm going to sell you even a punk for $200,000, you probably say no thank you, because we're not there anymore. So I would say do your research, but like the value today is what you should be looking at. And the NFTs for gaming should not be super expensive. They should be just like small amounts, but they should increase in value once people played with them and upgraded them in a certain way. Yep, here, there.
Hello, my name is Totne, and I want to know what is the best play-to-earn model, because there is like 4 of them, I think, like advertisements, more people coming in and you receive money from like selling the NFTs. And I also want to know what is the like games, like play-to-earn games that your company has worked with, and like what is the best way to like play and earn at the same time.
So if I decipher all the questions, so you're asking which games should you be interested in the end. Most of the AAA studios are going to be launching Web3 games. So depending on the style of game you like, you will have titles that will come the next few months that are super super well defined in terms of like gameplay, engagement, and all of that, and that have certain Web3 components on top of them. The ones that we interact with at Arena Games are really like super specific PvP mobile games. We will announce the games later during the conference, actually, so you will know a little bit more about what we're doing here. But as I said, most AAA studios are launching their version of Web3 games, and that goes from, I don't know, like EA Games, Ubisoft, I don't know, like all of them, Rockstar Games, all of them are doing that. Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. I got a question. In your presentation, you said Axie Infinity is a great game. Axie Infinity, as we know, has one of the main problems that every major Web3 game has. Highly dependent on new players. So Axie, I call it click to earn, not play to earn, because to me it has not, basic on, features of a real gaming experience. So in this way that every major Web3 games are heavily dependent on new players until they have money of the investor, they do advertisement, the newcomers are coming, but when they stop, crash. So what do you think is making Web3 games sustainable? And how we really may bring the traditional gamers to this market? Because this, let's say, not high-end, mainly low graphic games is really bringing traditional gamers, you think? Thank you so much.
Good question. I will refer to what you mentioned with one word. It's called Ponzinomics. So when something relies on constantly getting new funds to keep surviving, that's a Ponzi scheme. I wouldn't say that Axie is a Ponzi scheme. But what happened in the Axie...
I haven't said to.
Yeah, but what happened is very similar to a Ponzi scheme, because it's like all the money coming with the new players and the popularity of the earning created so much demand for the game, and it brought the value to really high levels that it doesn't deserve. When I said it's a good game, I was mainly talking about the dynamics of the game and not the graphic side of it, because it's pretty old school a little bit there. But in the end, what happened was not expected, and everybody learned from it, including the Axie Infinity team. Because what they were trying to do is to build. And they always said that the version that was out is the alpha, not even the beta. And now they're building a new version, and they're building the lands, and they're a little bit too slow, to my opinion. And I don't think they did it thinking that we will do this Ponzi dynamic to make as much money in the beginning and exit, because they did not exit. Even when everything collapsed, they kept building. What happened, though, is a lot of people saw that opportunity and started doing that, and started like just promoting a new crap game and pulling the rug as soon as possible. And that is the risk for the whole industry. And that's why the industry has a bad reputation, because a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people did it for the NFTs too. A lot of people, when they saw the punks, started creating all kinds of crap NFT collections and selling them for too much money during the bull market, and people got screwed because now they're left with stuff that doesn't really worth anything. So in the end, I think the most important thing, and I mentioned it multiple times in the presentation, is to build something that is fun and entertaining and engaging. And then if it is on the blockchain or not, it doesn't matter, because people will like to play the game for its actually fun and entertainment side, not the blockchain side.